Hey, Garbrac here with another Elder Scrolls Online video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the crafting and some of the features and mechanics that Elder Scrolls is going to introduce. Now, not a lot of information has been given to us regarding what to expect about crafting, but Bill Murphy from MMORPG was able to weasel out a little bit of information from Paul Sage. That interview will be linked in the description. So what I want to talk about is what Paul Sage said. In the video, Paul Sage was talking about how he wants the crafting system to be one of the ways for people to obtain some of the best gear. Now, as to if he means crafting, you need crafting to go in and do raiding, and then from raiding to maybe crafting, and from crafting to raiding again, depending on how expansions work. That might be a possibility. But he says there's going to be like a lateral progression to it, which I really like. I wrote an article back in December 22nd, I think it was, regarding crafting. And that link I'll put again in the description. And in that article, I was talking about the little things. It's the little things in MMOs that tend to get overlooked. So let's look at previous MMOs. Let's start off with SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic. Star Wars: The Old Republic, in all honesty, I think had the worst crafting system in any MMO I've ever played. It had a really cool feature with the dismantle where you could disassemble your stuff. But again, that feature's been in previous MMOs like Dark Age Camelot, for example. But the reason I say it's a horrible MMO or horrible crafting system is because you don't actually do any of it. You don't really gather. I mean, you send your companions out to do the gathering. The crafting you don't really do. I mean, you tell your companions to do it all. So there's no real time sink involved. Yes, you have to have the time for your companions to do it. It still takes time for that, but there's no real requirement for you to do it. You log in, click, 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 you're done. Here's all your crafting for the day or whatever. There's all your gathering and everything like that. Now let's look at World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft had a massive time sink involved into its crafting system. Let's take leatherworking, for example, which coincided very well with the skinning. Without skinning, you weren't able to obtain the leather you needed unless you bought it from another crafter or the auction house. So that had a huge time sink involved with it. You had to go out, you had to kill the mobs, you had to skin them, you had to go sell all the crap you got off the mob. If you're an alchemist, you had herbalism, you had to go out and pick your herbs or buy them off the auction house. Either way, there's a massive time sink in between either crafting the item or obtaining the mats in order to craft the item, or both. I mean, if you had both, then it's double the time sink. Now, if you look at World of Warcraft now, leveling a trade doesn't take that long. It's maybe 3 to 4 solid hours of just straight grinding. Certain ones take a little bit longer. In particularly skinning. I found that one to be the longest one to do. But that's what a game needs. A game needs time sinks. Let's take a look at Dark Age of Camelot's crafting system. About 95% of the mats you could buy off of a vendor. So you just go buy it, and you take it over to the crafting table and you craft it. So there really wasn't much of a time sink involved in the gathering of materials. Huge time sink involved in crafting the item, because Dark Age of Camelot was one of the first games that I played that had a failing crafting system where you would craft something, but you would potentially fail at crafting it and lose all the materials it cost. So when you got higher up in the skill, it became harder and harder to craft orange items in order to level up. And because it came harder, that also meant you had a higher chance of failing, which also cost you more money, more platinum, in order to continue on. Now, my idea for Elder Scrolls Online ties in perfectly into their lateral progression into characters. So, what I mean by that is, when you hit level cap in Elder Scrolls Online, level 50, there's more for you to do. You're not just, okay, I'm level 50, I'm going to start doing endgame, I'm going to start doing PvP. No, you can actually continually progress your character. You can increase your skills, you can increase your weapons, you can increase your armor types. There's tons of different routes and options out there for you to do. Now, when it comes to crafting, there never is. In any other MMO, there's never anything after cap level. You hit cap, you're therefore the best crafter you can be. Can't craft any of the high-end items. Yes, you can get recipes from raid bosses and stuff like that, but you never actually become a better crafter. You can craft better items, but your skill as a whole never changes. My system that I have thought of, and I really think Elder Scrolls should adapt something like this, it's going to have some flaws because, again, it's just an idea. But the idea of it is, say, for example, I'm a weaponsmith. I craft weapons, so axes, swords, maces, stuff like that. One of the things I'm crafting, right, for example, is a sword. Let's say it costs 50 metal bars, 50 pieces of leather, and 20 pieces of wood. And this sword will give me a stat bonus of 50 strength and 50 stamina. So, with my system, it has a lateral progression. So as you craft the item, not only will you gain a skill point, but if you're capped, you can continually increase your skill as a crafter, and eventually becoming a master crafter in that specific item. So every item would be able to become mastered, and as you master the craft, the previous item would therefore cost less materials. So, what do I mean by previous item? Well, every item will have a leveling scheme. So, if I craft the sword I was talking about, 50 strength, 50 stamina, if I craft it, let's say, 10 times. Again, this is just a random number, but it takes me 10 crafts in order to learn the new one. When I craft it 10 times, a level icon will come up and say, doo-doo-doo-doo. This is what happened. You can now craft the novice version of this sword, or the experienced version of this sword, which will maybe have slightly better stats by like 1 or 2. Nothing major to make the previous sword crap, but enough to make the new sword a little bit more valuable for crafters to sell. But one of the really cool ideas about this is if I become the next level of crafter in that sword, the previous one will cost less materials. Why? Because I've honed my abilities that I should be able to utilize my materials to the maximum advantage. So I have less waste. I am able to take 15 bars and craft a blade instead of taking 20 bars or 50 bars to craft a blade. But the next tier costs more because I'm just learning it. It's like being a carpenter and just learning how to cut wood properly. Your measurements are never going to be perfect. Being a welder and welding 2 pieces of wood together, your welds aren't going to be perfect. But the more you do it, the better they become. So the lateral progression system I've suggested, I think it's a phenomenal system. I think it'll have longevity in the game, tons of time sink, and I think that's one of the big things an MMO needs. An MMO needs a time sink. As much as we hate time sinks, including dailies, I despise dailies, but they're required. You need to have them. You need to have a reason for people to log into the game every day. And I think World of Warcraft did a fantastic job doing that. They have those stupid little nuances that we all hate, but we all log in and do it. Reputation grinds is a big one. We all log in, especially if you look back in like TBC days where you had to grind rep for days and hours and months potentially just to get that one little thing that you wanted, either a piece of gear, a mount, or just to get that achievement. That's a time sink. That's what keeps people logging in and constantly paying. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the crafting system. So the reason I'm making this video is because Paul Sage talked about having crafting being one of the viable options for people to obtain gear, and I think that's a huge necessity. Crafters always get overlooked. Crafting gear usually sucks. I mean, you can go out and do a quest and get a better piece of gear than most crafting materials will give you. So the fact that they're actually going to give the crafters some love, I think is a phenomenal thing. And like I said, with this lateral progression system that I'm really passionate about, I think is a perfect fit to the Elder Scrolls lore. But I'm curious. I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the crafting system? What do you guys think about the suggestion I've put forward? Yeah, like I said, just put them in the comments below. If you found this video informative in any way, please like, subscribe. I'm going to be doing more videos as they release information. Hopefully they can start releasing some more information soon. I'm also working on trying to get some money up to go to PAX. I potentially have a ticket to go. I just need to get some coin to pay for the fuel and the lodging. If I can go, so if I can get the money to go, I'm going to be doing nightly live streams as well as doing tons of articles as to what I see with Elder Scrolls Online information. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the video. We are trying to work on maybe doing a weekly or bi-weekly question and answer videos. So if you guys have any questions you want answered, or if you think of something that you're like, hey, what about this? Please feel free to either email, or not email them, but put them in the comments below. You can send them to me on Twitter at rgetchel. I'll put it in the description. You can use the ESU Q&A hashtag, and we'll see it. And like I said, if we get enough questions, we'll do a video every week, maybe even twice a week. It all depends on how many questions we get, but we're going to do our best to answer every single question we get that you guys give us, with as much as confirmed information as we can get. So again, please like, comment, subscribe, and I want to know what you guys think about the crafting system.